What's up, everybody? I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. Nate Bargatze's here with us. Nate, welcome back to the program, man. How are you?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me back. Appreciate it.
So
Different times now.
Yeah, I know, right? Weird times.
Yeah.
How are you surviving with everything?
I'm doing good. I don't know. I've started these Zoom stuff. I don't hate this as much as
No, it's not
good.
bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. You can do a bunch of them. Like you're at home. I feel like I've done more stuff like this than I've ever done. And I was even talking to some of my friends. I'm like, we should all call each other on this. Like, it's a good, it's a good thing. So besides that, I've been doing good. We're staying in, just bunkered down.
So when was your last show before everything shut down?
Red Bank, New Jersey. Oh no, I'm sorry. Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania was my last show, and then we drove to Red Bank, New Jersey. It was March 12th. And on the way there, we were kind of like, we have a tour bus, so we just drove. It wasn't a far drive, and we were driving to it. And we were kind of wondering if it was going to get canceled, kind of waiting to see, because like the NBA was like done, or and then all this college basketball was done. Like all this stuff was getting canceled, and so Red Bank, we made it. I mean, it was up to like 4 or 5 p.m. maybe, and the show was at 7, and we just decided to cancel. It was too close. It was too many people who didn't want to come, and I didn't want people to not come, and then we still do the show, and then they don't get a refund back for whatever reason. I don't, it's not like I'm in charge of that. It's like Ticketmaster, but I just didn't want something to happen. The best, safest thing to do was just to decide to cancel it. So we were outside the venue, and then at like 2 hours before, just like, all right, yeah, it's not happening.
That's really wild. What do you miss the most about performing right now?
Just being, getting to be on stage, being funny, and I was in the middle of we were in the thick of this tour, so it was March, and we were going to be going till June. Just a solid long time, and I was going to be taping a special, hopefully in the fall, which I think we're still hoping to do. And so it's just getting it all ready. And you really had some good momentum going. And, when you're starting to figure out your new act, you add some stuff, and it was like really hitting all the cylinders, and then just all put to a halt. And then so, and it's now it's all forgotten. That's your biggest fear, is you forget all of it.
Yeah. And then you had to reschedule the whole tour. Like I saw you tweeted out all the new dates. Like that must've been pretty wild to try and grab new dates, new venues, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. It's more than I know, but you're with our agents and stuff, what they decide to do. Because everybody's rescheduling. So that's what's the craziest thing about this. It's the world.
Yeah,
it's like if you go, everyone, except they said like Iceland, right? Not Iceland, Antarctica. Antarctica, they're up there, and they're
just kicking it like normal, right?
Yeah, they're just doing their regular day stuff. They're like, what's happening? What's going on? But everywhere you would go in the world is doing this. You can't go to a place on the planet and, and not someone be like, whoa, get back. So, when we had to reschedule, you're then they're rescheduling Seinfeld to Disney on Ice to, whatever basketball games. So we had to do all that. So that was tough to do. And so then stuff really gets moved around because you're not going to – it's not like you just automatically get to push to the later ones. So a lot of stuff got moved around, and, it is what everybody's been – everybody's obviously been cool about it. I don't know what they would do. They just start screaming at me because I brought I brought the coronavirus in. I'm here.
Yeah,
but
that wouldn't be so good.
That wouldn't be good. So it was everybody's been cool about it. Everybody's been nice about it, and, and then, hopefully we'll get rolling again. It'll be interesting to see if it's weird. That's what I want to see. Is it going to be weird when we all go back?
Yeah, because I think the big thing is do people want to be in crowds? And, for some of your comedy shows, it's big crowds. So I think it's going to be interesting to see when people will come back, how people react. Because obviously people will have a ton of home quarantine jokes and stuff like that. But it's how do we shift from this stuff to going back to the stuff you're already doing before?
Yeah, that's what, with stand-up, because we look at it as sports, you need sports to go back. That's what we need for as a a comedian is like once sports goes back and people are going to those shows or going to games, then we'll be able to come back. Which I think I'm not coming back till like the end of August, which don't know if it's going to happen, but it was at least like a far enough date to like go maybe. But yeah, I mean, people are going to go out, but yeah, it will be weird to see, are they going to be around? You're hoping that like people are going to want to be out. Like, they've done, they've been locked up in their homes for so long that they're ready to hopefully do some stuff. So we'll see. I don't know,
Yeah, I think people are going to be dying to get out, whether it's going on trips, going to comedy shows. As soon as it's safe, like I feel like it's just going to be gangbusters, people getting into stuff, right?
Yeah.
So when I think about your career, I think it's been a pretty awesome ride for you. In terms of like the way that things have been built out the last couple of years, what do you think are some of the key moments that kind of helping you take that next step with everything?
I would, the big moments, I met Fallon in like Jimmy Fallon in like 2012, and then that was the big moment just career wise. Like we try to sell a TV show with them. It just it didn't work out because no TV shows ever work out. But they like doing that like kind of entered me into the world of trying to make a sitcom or make TV or I'm almost more aware of like the LA side of things because I was in New York for so long. And so that was a big part of it, just kind of, career-wise. But, like, as far as stand-up, like, it was the Netflix. I mean, the stand-ups, the half hour that I did, because I did an hour on Comedy Central. Right. And then the stand, they asked me to do a half hour on the stand-ups. And at first I didn't want to do it because I thought, hey, I've already done an hour. I don't want to go backwards. But that was the biggest thing I've ever did. I mean, and that really started it all from that. And then the Tennessee Kid, once we put that out. And so, I mean, Netflix has changed my life. I mean, it's another world now. And, and I mean, quarantine's been great for me for Netflix, to be honest.
Yeah, because people are checking out your stuff if they've never seen it before, if they want to watch it for the 10th time.
Yeah. They, you realize that people, they say that. Like, they'll be like, oh, we didn't see. Oh, I'm sorry, I moved my camera. And, I can show everybody. You try to, with these new Skype things, you don't want to be like half a door the whole time you're talking. Like, you gotta.
You got a good backdrop there. I like it.
I know this is wood. I feel like this is the whole new world with all people's Zoom meetings and like if you're a business, just a regular business. I mean, you have a meeting. You got to look like not a crazy person. Like you could easily. What if people think you're normal and then when you sit down and do a Zoom, you got a chainsaw hanging up on the back and then you're just at some company and you're like, oh, God.
There are going to be some questions, right?
There has to be someone fired from their job just because of the background. Like that they just happen to do the video. Like they just have to go, we don't need that guy in our job.
Yeah, you really get a more intimate look into a person's life. Like I've had guys that have kids, like their kids are rolling in the middle of these interviews and in the middle of these meetings. Like you really get a nice look at what's going on at home.
I made my kid go walk the streets while I did this interview. She's 7. And I go, you're old enough now. Get out there.
You're good to go mix it up with the people out there. Social distance, of course.
Yeah, social distancing. At least walk in the middle of the road, social distancing. Make sure you get out there. Yeah, all the wrong things. But, so I don't know what we were talking about, but
jumping back into your career, I feel like you were probably at like the tail end of like, let's build a sitcom around a comedian. And like, that was something that was really big at the time, like mid 2000s, late 2000s. So how did you kind of branch out of that and be like, you know what, the specials are where things are happening for comedians?
Well, the specials were where you were going to head to. Being a stand-up comic, that was the ultimate goal, and that was like the rise of that. You want to do that sitcom route, and like that's like harder now. I mean, I shot one for ABC. We shot a pilot for ABC, and it was great. I thought we did everything we were supposed to do, and it just didn't work out. And so that kind of world. I mean, I still want to do that. I still want to do a show like that. But it's interesting. Stand-up is. You can kind of do it now on your own. Like you don't have to have a sitcom like Ray Romano or Seinfeld. All these comics had these big shows, and these shows are huge and they're enormous and they help. But now with like specials, I mean, I think back then they couldn't get specials out like they do now. Like you have an HBO special, and then you'd have to watch it when it was on. And I mean, those would change people's lives. Those were huge back then. But now with Netflix, I mean, look at like Sebastian Maniscalco and like Jim Gaffigan. I mean, Gaffigan's done much stuff. Sebastian's in movies and stuff now. But I mean, Sebastian had his following before that with, with stand-up special. Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer, who both have a special out right now. Like, they had theirs come out during this quarantine, which is and Chris D'Elia is going to have one. That's unbelievable timing. You have your special come out just like, and the whole world is told you can't leave your house.
It's like, we got to watch this. There's nothing else to watch right now.
What are you going to watch? So, and they're all very funny, guys. But they, the way that they can do stand-up now, they have it out. They go out, they put it on the Netflix, and you can really build your own audience. You can build like an audience, your audience through just stand-up, which is pretty neat to, I mean, you don't have to do other stuff.
Definitely. You mentioned New York before. What were some of your favorite spots to hit when you were doing comedy in New York?
The Comedy Cellar, the Stand in New York. That's where I met Fallon randomly. Was at the Stand, and New York Comedy Club, Caroline's. Caroline's was a huge club for me. I mean, I did every club, like Gotham, Broadway. Broadway Comedy Club used to be the Improv, and then they switched it to Broadway. I moved there in 2004. I was there for about almost 9 years. So they would do. I would do all of that and like do all those comedy clubs. You just bounce around and do spots, and it was very fun, like very cool to do. I mean, those were awesome times where you would just run around. I mean, I did 7 shows in one night was the most I ever did.
That's
and
crazy.
It was a lot. But when you're getting to that, like 5 is about the most you should do. After 5, you don't even know what you're saying anymore.
You're probably delirious at that point, right?
Well, you would say the same joke twice sometimes, because you would like, sometimes you would think you're saying it. You would like tell the joke and you're like, have I said this? And you're like, you've said it 6 times tonight. So, but you can't tell if you've done it. You're like, did I say it earlier in this show? And then, which I have done. I've told the same joke twice in a show. It's real, it's weird. People just.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a trip there when people are just saying,
yeah,
we kind of heard that 20 minutes ago, but understand it if you're doing 7 shows.
Yeah, it is funny to see them all like realize they're like, even them, they're like, hey, did we hear this? Like, it's everybody. You can just feel how weird it feels in a room, like, because you're just like, is this all happening? Yeah. So
even the thing for like you as a comedian, like you're coming up with a joke and you're like, have I heard this before from somebody else? Like, do I have to call some people right now? Because like you don't want to rip somebody else off, and that's a tough thing given all the comedians that are out there.
Yeah, I do. I do call somebody. I'll call someone and see if they've done it. Like it's for sure. You're asked someone. Sometimes it's like when a joke is very easy, when it kind of comes easily and it just works.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's about, not always about a story, but if it's I'm trying to think if there was ever one. But if it's like if I used to have a joke about doing P90X, where I would say I never worked out a day in my life, and so I ordered the P90X videos. I was like, well, let's just do what the Navy SEALs do. I bet I'll figure that out. And then like the before body and after body, like I was like when I saw it, I was impressed by the before body. I thought that guy looked unbelievable. So like that, like a joke like that, that's like a joke that I would have to call and ask. And that's an old joke now. That I've done it. That was a long time ago. But that like a joke that was like about a broad topic, about just working out was like something you might call and be like, hey, has someone done this? Like, because it seems too obvious.
Right.
And maybe someone did do it and just the person I'm calling doesn't know. Comics are that's a whole thing that got blown out of proportion in my opinion. Like comics like stealing material. Like they don't really do it. I mean, comedians are pretty good at policing it themselves. Right. And so they do pretty good at like just figuring it out and doing it and like watching out for it and like telling someone, if you see someone that I've had plenty of times I've been told and Buddy's been told where you're like, hey, just so you know, like Bill Burr does that exact same joke, and as he did it the other night, and they're like, oh man, like usually you just don't know, but most comics are not stealing, like they're not just like taking people's material.
Yeah, I think it was really that the whole Dane Cook, Louis C.K. thing that just blew it out of the water. And like you're saying, like it's a fraternity of comedians that are just talking to each other about this stuff mostly.
I mean, even that when that happened, I mean, Dane, maybe it could have seeped in his head somehow. Sure. Like there could be, who knows? I don't think Dane outright went to Louis' show and wrote down that thing and then just took off and was like, I'm going to do this now. Like
that would be obscene, right? It would be insane.
It would be crazy. And if someone's usually doing someone's act, it's a lot of times there'll be someone that's like not in the mainstream, like not really doing comedy. They're doing it like just small places all over.
Right, they're on the outskirts.
They're on the outskirts, and that person is straight up just taking people's act. But he would tell you that, and he probably thinks it's okay.
Right, and that's what it's like. All right, that's BS. Yeah.
Yeah, but that guy's not affecting anybody. Like like he's just doing whatever. So I still all my stuff stolen. By the way, I'm defending it just because.
Right, you go to a random show. You're like, wait a minute, this is my entire Netflix special. Come on.
Yeah, you're gonna wait till you see there's some other guy doing comedy that does all that. I'm like,
well, that's when you know you've officially made it, right?
Yeah, that you do for sure.
So you're the type of guy now that's got your own tour. Why don't you take me back? Like, who's somebody you opened up for early on where you're like, all right, this is legit. Like, this is awesome. Things are starting to happen for me
now. Well, one of the, I opened for Bill Burr. The first thing I ever did was open for Angela Johnson. And it was 2008. And we did Montreal Comedy Festival together. And she asked me if I wanted to come open for her, and we did the same thing together, so I didn't know. I was like, all right, like we were both doing this thing called New Faces, which was the new comedians, and we both were on it. So I thought it was weird, like I thought she's at like my level, like so I don't know how I could open for her. And then I did go open for her, and she sold out like 6 shows at Houston Improv, and she was Bon Qui Qui, and this nail salon character on YouTube that blew up. So she had these new fans, and I mean we would just do these sold out shows, and she's the best. And she took me around a lot. I mean I've been to Guam, Saipan, like I would never went to these places, like, and I went with her, and so that was the first like kind of like, oh wow, like this is like really traveling on the road, and was amazing. But also like the other ones that were big were Chris Rock when I opened for him. I was already headlining then, but just doing that, I did probably like 5, 6 of them, and that was the coolest, man. Because just to get to watch him do the same, get to do his show over and over again, get to know him, get to be friendly with him, and like make him laugh and like have fun. And like we went to a Pirates game, and just ask him all, like he loves just talking comedy, so you can ask him all these questions, and so he was enormous. Marc Maron I went out with a few times, like and we became friends. So it's good when you can go watch the guys older than you, and you get to go sit and learn from them, and it was huge.
What is something you picked up, like a specific thing? Like you mentioned watching Rock do his thing over and over, watching Maron. What are the little ticks of their trade that you picked up?
Maron, I think one of the best at like making, you're always trying to get your stage voice to be like your off stage voice. Like you want to be as much as yourself as you can in a safe way, like in a good way of like, obviously when you're on stage, you're going to be a little exaggerated of what you are. Like, like Curb Your Enthusiasm with Larry David. Like Larry David's not walking around doing all that stuff, but he wants to be doing all that stuff. And there's a version of him that does it, but he gets to push it to the highest level because it's a TV show. And Maron, I think, is very good at like, Marc Maron is good at like being himself on stage. That's as close, like that's a very close version to, he brings you into his world. And so when you go watch him, it's like watching a TV show. You're watching to see what this guy is going to do. What is this guy going to say? That's what I want to see. So that's something I learned from Maron. And Chris Rock was just, it was interesting, Chris Rock, just to see someone be, that known. When he would walk out on stage, this was one of his first tours back. This was his first tour back.
What year was this?
Oh, I mean, the special
Most
that
recent
he
one?
just put out.
Okay.
Yeah, the most recent special he did. It was the tour leading up to that.
Right.
So, I mean, a couple years ago. And so he was seeing him come out, and like the audience just lose their mind when he comes out, and like, the anticipation that they got a lot of stuff they've been wanting to go see Chris Rock forever. Chris Rock's been famous for, I mean, 40 years, like 30 years or something. I mean, since he was a kid, borderline.
Crazy, yeah.
So, so it's like, I mean, when we'd go walk around, just seeing people even just like notice him, like, see him, like they just kind of look and they're like, is that, and it's just so crazy to see that. So, but like with him, we just learned about, just seeing him build his act. I like the command of the stage. I liked watching with Chris Rock. He paces back and forth. He walks back and forth across the stage. And something I've actually been working on. It sounds stupid, but we do we showed it that we do all these YouTube videos. Now I have these. I have a guy on the road with me, and we show like just like behind the scenes and stuff of us being on tour. And so, I talk about a lot in those. But it's just, you want to be able to walk back and forth on the stage. Like, I want to move around. I don't, I kind of stand still. I don't do much. I'm never going to be that animated in my voice. My voice sounds like this. I always get told I'm boring on podcasts. I just get destroyed because they think.
You're like, this is just who I am, man.
It's who I am, man. They're like, this guy's energy is garbage. And they yell at me. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I'm trying to it's like move around on stage a little more. I did a show in the Round where you have people all around you. That's like, I loved it. That's my favorite, because you're just constantly making a circle. And so for a guy that doesn't move a lot, my voice is like, my energy's lower, my more monotone voice. Just making that circle was a huge help.
That's awesome. Well, Nate, thanks for all the stories, man. It was great hanging out with you, and we'll talk to you down the road, right?
I mean, let's do it again, dude. We have nothing but this. So.